India.
We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Second India-Australia 2+2 defence and foreign ministerial dialogue in New Delhi today. Israel releases CCTV footage showing hostages at Gaza hospital. The 54th edition of International...
Wages war from hospital. Wages terror from hospitals.
The 54th edition of the International Film Festival of India to begin in Goa. And Australia lifts 6th World Cup trophy, defeats India by 6 wickets. On to details now. Defence ministers of India and Australia will join the country's foreign ministers in the second India-Australia 2+2 defence and foreign ministerial dialogue in New Delhi on Monday. The ministers are expected to discuss a wide range of strategic defence and security issues. More in this report.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will meet their Australian counterparts for the second India-Australia 2+2 Defence plus Foreign Ministerial Dialogue in New Delhi on Monday. Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister of Australia Richard Marles and Foreign Minister Penny Wong will be representing the Australian side. India and Australia share a comprehensive strategic partnership. A mutual logistics support agreement was signed in 2020. Australia and India support a rules-based international order. They seek to forge regional institutions in the Indo-Pacific which are inclusive and promote economic integration. The Quad is an example of shared interest. The two countries also participate in joint military exercises. Apart from Quad, the two countries are members of the Commonwealth, Indian Ocean Rim Association, ASEAN Regional Forum, Asia-Pacific Partnership on Climate and Clean Development, and East Asia Summit. Both countries are also members of the 5 interested parties in the World Trade Organization context. The Economic Cooperation Trade Agreement, ECTA, was the first free trade agreement signed by India with a developed country. It came into force in December 2022. India and Australia are partners in a trilateral agreement along with Japan to enhance the resilience of supply chains. There is also significant cooperation in the education sector. 2 universities of Australia have campuses in India. More than 1 lakh Indian students study in Australia. Apart from the 2+2 dialogue, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will hold a bilateral meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister Marles. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar and Foreign Minister Wong will also hold a bilateral meeting under the 14th Foreign Ministerial Framework Dialogue, that's on the 21st of November. Stronger people-to-people ties are growing naturally, given the growing Indian diaspora in Australia. The two countries are aiming for a broad and multifaceted bilateral relationship. The countries, which are cricket-loving nations and share a formidable sporting rivalry, elevated their relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership during the first virtual summit held on 4th of June 2020. Bureau Report, DD India.
And for more, we have our correspondent Amrit Pal with us. Well, Amrit, India and Australia share a lot of regional interest in areas ranging from defence to technology to trade and investment ties. What can be expected from this second 2+2 dialogue?
Defence, technology, cricket. It happened yesterday where both the Prime Minister of India and the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia were there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a broad-based relationship. Defense, technology, comprehensive strategic partnership. They are partners in Quad, in the education sector. There's a lot of trade and investment. They're trying to look at CECA, or Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement. So in the economic sector, there are linkages, there are business linkages, there are trade linkages, there are people-to-people ties. A lot of Indian students go to Australia. So all that would be on the table, renewable energy. So all that would be on the table today when the 2+2 happens. Then the ministers break into their own sessions. The defense ministers will hold a meeting today. Tomorrow, the foreign ministers Penny Wong and S. Jaishankar will meet for the 14th Foreign Ministerial Framework meeting. So there is a robust defense cooperation. We had the first Indian naval submarine dock in Australia this year. We had Australia hold the Malabar exercises, in which India is an important component and a partner of that. We had the Indian naval Dorniers and the C-30 of 130 of the Indian Air Force participate, go to Roskilde. So you have a robust relationship. The two sides, when the two ministers meet, when the four ministers actually meet today, they would want to take it to the next level, Lepakshi.
I'm sure. Also, Amrit, Singh and Jaishankar will hold separate bilateral talks with their Australian counterparts. What can be expected from the bilateral meetings?
In the where Rajnath Singh, Richard Mal's meeting, they would primarily focus on how to take the defense partnership further, how the two navies, how the two countries can look at security cooperation, can look at securing the Indo-Pacific to make it more open, resilient, and inclusive. As they are members of the Quad, they would also looking at how technology transfers in the defense sector could take place, how more cooperation for joint production of defense equipment can take place. When the two foreign ministers meet tomorrow, the foreign ministers would primarily look at, they have a comprehensive strategic partnership, that how that can be taken forward, how that can be deepened. They would want to discuss the upcoming Quad agenda. Quad is slated for January next year. India is hosting it. They could announce the dates if they are agreed upon this time, or probably wait if the dates. The tentative date, it's said to be January 27th, but the Americans have to still confirm it. But Japan and Australia have, conveyed their acceptance for 27th. So the Indians and the Americans are working on that date. They would be looking at how the relationship can be taken forward in bilaterally and in the context of Quad and Indo-Pacific. Also, Lepakshi, other issues of regional interest, including the ongoing Hamas-Israel conflict could come up for discussions.
Right. Thank you so much, Amrit, for that update from there. And moving on, India celebrates 8 years of the Uday, or the Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana scheme, which aims at recuing the debts of discoms in India and also reduce the cost of electricity throughout the country. Here is a report by DD India correspondent Debyendu Mondal.
Over the last 8 years, the Uday, or the Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana, launched by the Ministry of Power, has been able to turn around several debt-ridden power distribution companies across the country. The state power distribution companies have reported significant improvement in the reduction of losses and improvement in the cost of power distribution. The financial data shows that the state discoms reported a reduction in aggregate technical and commercial losses by 3%. Not just this, it has also reported the reduction of average cost of supply and average revenue realized gap from rupees 0.48 per kilowatt to rupees 0.30 per kilowatt in the financial year of 2020.
Electrified every village, we electrified every hamlet, we connected every home. We connected 29 million homes in 19 months. And the International Energy Agency called it the largest and the fastest expansion of access ever in the world in the history of the power sector. That's what we did. We connected the whole country. We converted our country from power deficit to power surplus.
The scheme, Uday, was launched in November 2015 for operational and financial turnaround of state-owned power distribution companies, or the DISCOMs. The scheme aims to reduce the interest burden, reduce the cost of power, reduce power losses in distribution sector, and improve operational efficiencies of the DISCOMs. The scheme has now covered almost all the states and union territories of India, which incentivizes the states by exempting state takeover of DISCOM debts. The scheme also aims to provide increased supply of domestic coal, coal linkage rationalization, liberally allowing coal swaps, allocation of coal linkages to states at notified prices, and an additional or priority funding.
पिछले 8 वर्षों में देश में लगभग 1,70,000 मेगावाट बिजली उत्पादन की क्षमता जोड़ी गई है। वन नेशन वन पावर ग्रिड आज देश की ताकत बन चुका है। पूरे देश को जोड़ने के लिए लगभग 1,70,000 सर्किट किलोमीटर ट्रांसमिशन लाइंस बिछाई गई हैं।
The scheme has an outlay of over rupees 3,000 crore, which will reform and change the face of electricity distribution and DISCOMs in the country over the next few years. Dibyendu Mondal's report for DD India.
And the 54th edition of the International Film Festival of India, home to the best of the world in Indian cinema, kickstarts in the western Indian state of Goa on Monday. More than 270 films will be showcased during the 8-day-long annual festival at 4 venues. DD India correspondent Shama Mishra spoke to festival director Pratul Kumar regarding the preparations.
Awaited film festival, the International Film Festival of India, the 54th edition will begin. And we have Pratul Kumar, the director of the festival, with us. Sir, many congratulations. We all have been looking forward to it. What's unique this year? I mean, how many movies are we going to watch, and where all we've got the registrations from?
So uniqueness is in scaling up what has been entrusted upon us, is that the first thing which we came to know when we were embarking upon the journey of organizing this 54th edition of IFFI, that back in 1952, when the first edition was organized, it was Mr. Satyajit Ray who had commented upon it, that if the quality of films which were showcased in the festival, they were to be seen, then probably the first IFFI which was held in 1952 was the best IFFI by far across the world for many, many years. So we're just continuing that legacy which was left to us, but we are trying to do our best so that the people who come here and participate in the festival, they get to see more and more films, and apart from that, the quality of films should be the best from around the world. And we have been really successful this year.
Lastly, sir, when we are speaking about the cinema reaching the people and India positioning itself as the content hub of the world, what have you seen in that area, the progress that has happened since the time we've coined this term that we want to project ourselves as the content hub of the world?
So, in fact, there are many facets to it that India is actually reaching that stage. You can all see that India has got 2 Oscars, which was a rarity. And getting 2 Oscars means then the content which is being developed is being appreciated not just nationally, but internationally. Everybody is appreciating the content. So that's one part of it. And we are promoting the creative minds here because we recognize. So it is ultimately the people who create this content, and it was the vision of Honorable Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Shri Anurag Singh Thakurji, that such an initiative was started 2 years back, and this is the 3rd edition of 75 Creative Minds of Tomorrow.
So that was the festival director talking all about that will be there, that will be presented and would be up for grabs for the cinema lovers, for the movie lovers and everything entertainment. With camera person Sanjeev, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Goa.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The 42nd edition of the India International Trade Fair going on at Pragati Maidan in New Delhi opened for the public from Sunday. The fair will remain open for all till the 27th of November. This year, the theme of the fair is based on Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which emphasizes on interconnectedness and cooperation in trade. All schools in Indian capital New Delhi reopened from Monday. However, outdoor sports activities and morning assemblies will not be held for the next 1 week. The schools remained closed in the national capital due to the increased pollution level. In India, the 4-day festival Chhath Puja came to an end after devotees offered prayer to the rising sun, followed by breaking the 2-day-long fast. The devotees performed Chhath Puja on the banks of various rivers, including Ganga and Yamuna. Hundreds of people of Indian origin from New Jersey and New York flocked to waterfronts in the United States as they celebrated the auspicious festival of Chhath on Sunday. The festival was celebrated by members of the Indian community who gathered on both Saturday and Sunday for the festivities. In New Delhi, Rashtrapati Bhavan and the India Gate have been illuminated in blue light to mark the World Children's Day, which is celebrated on the 20th of November. The day holds important significance because on this day, the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. The Shillong Cherry Blossom Festival in the Indian state of Meghalaya officially concluded on Sunday. The festival grounds were resonated with the echoes of electrifying performances from both local and international artists, creating an exceptional atmosphere that drew festival goers closer to the heart of the celebration. And still to come on DD India News Hour. France is sending warship to provide over 10 tons of medical supplies early next week to Gaza. Ukrainian president calls for rapid operations changes for soldiers, SACs and commando. And about 3,000 mostly Ukrainian trucks are stuck on the Polish side of the border. Stay tuned to know why. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, update on Israel-Hamas conflict. The Israeli army on Sunday released a video showing security camera footage of what they say were the Hamas terrorists bringing in hostages from Israel into the Shifa hospital on the day of the October 7th attack. The video, aired by Israel's chief spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, appeared to show 2 hostages being brought into the Al-Shifa hospital. Armed men can be seen in the CCTV video, which is date stamped 7th October. One of the hostages appears to be resisting. The other is shown on a stretcher.
The world must remember, Hamas is holding the elderly, men, women, children, babies, hostage. The Israel Defense Forces has a moral obligation to bring every one of our hostages home. We will not rest until we do. Hamas was hiding and murdering our hostages in Shifa Hospital. Hamas was building terror tunnels underneath Shifa Hospital. By now, the truth is clear. Hamas wages war from hospitals, wages terror from hospitals.
And Israeli forces also said the 19-year-old Noah Marciona was abducted and murdered by Hamas terrorists on October 7th as a body was found and extracted by IDF troops adjacent to the Shifa hospital in Gaza. IDF further said that due to the ongoing combat, Marciono's captor was also killed.
During ongoing combat in the vicinity of where she was held captive, Noah, Hamas captor, was killed. And Noah was injured. I repeat, she was only injured. An independent pathological report has determined Noah's injuries were not life-threatening. I repeat, Noah's injuries were not life-threatening. Hamas terrorists took Noah into Shifa Hospital, where she was murdered quickly. Hamas murdered Noah inside Shifa Hospital.
The Israeli military also published a video on Sunday of a tunnel, it says, dug by Hamas terrorists under the Al-Shifa hospital. The IDF and social media site X said it revealed a significant 55-meter-long terrorist tunnel 10 meters underneath the Shifa hospital complex during an intelligence-based operation. According to IDF, the tunnel entrance contains various defense mechanisms, such as a blast-proof door and a firing hole, in an attempt by Hamas to block Israeli forces from entering. It further said these videos prove that Hamas is using residents of the Gaza and patients of Shifa Hospital as human shields. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu laid out for the first time Israel's preconditions for the post-conflict administration of Gaza.
My goal is that the day after we destroy Hamas, any future civil administration in Gaza does not deny the massacre, does not educate its children to become terrorists, does not pay for terrorists, and does not tell its children that their ultimate goal in life is to see the destruction and dissolution of the state of Israel. That's not acceptable, and that is not the way to achieve peace.
Meanwhile, people living in tents in Gaza's Khan Yunis are facing more challenges as strong wind and rain lashed refugee camps on Sunday. Camp inhabitants could be seen mending and strengthening their temporary homes as the bad weather hit the area. Plastic sheets used for the shelter walls and roofs were whipped in the wind, while rain created large puddles on the ground between tents at the UNRWA Vocational Training Center in Khan Yunis. Meanwhile, France is planning to charter a new aircraft from Air Force that will transport over 10 tons of medical supplies early next week to Gaza. As per President Emmanuel Macron's office, the aircraft will set sail at the start of the week and arrive in Egypt in the coming days. It further added that France is mobilizing all its available means to contribute to the evacuation of wounded and sick children requiring emergency care from the Gaza Strip to its hospitals. Earlier, Macron spoke with Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani and with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Saturday after ongoing negotiations to free hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. Meanwhile, Houthi rebels claim to have seized an Israeli cargo ship in the southern Red Sea on Sunday. Israel, however, denied ownership of the vessel and said that there was no Israelis among its crews. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said on Sunday that the vessel was operated by a Japanese company which leased it from a British company. Earlier, the Israel Defense Forces said in a statement that the Houthis took control of the cargo ship near Yemen in the southern Red Sea, adding that the vessel was headed from Turkey to India. IDF warned that the hijacking was a very grave incident of global consequence. The IDF has deployed additional ships in the Red Sea to deal with threats from the Houthi rebels. And on to update from Russia-Ukraine war. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday demanded rapid operation changes for soldiers and announced the dismissal of the commander of the military's medical forces. In his nightly video address, Zelensky said he had replaced Major General Tatiana Ostashchenko as commander of the medical forces, as new level of medical support for soldiers is needed. Ostashchenko was replaced by Major General Anatoly Kazmirchuk, head of a military clinic in Kyiv, he added.
The task is clear and has been repeatedly stressed in society, particularly among combat medics. We need fundamentally new level of medical support from our soldiers, from high-quality tourniquets to full digitalization and transparency in supply, from high-quality training to sincere communication with combat medics in those units where medical care is organized truly, properly and truly effectively. The experience should be extended to the entire defense forces. In today's meeting with Defense Minister Umro, priorities were set. There is a little time left to wait for results. Quick action is needed for the forthcoming changes.
Well, an orphaned Ukrainian teenager who was taken to Russia last year from the occupied city of Mariupol during the war has finally returned to Ukraine on his 18th birthday on Sunday. Bogdan Yermokin has appealed to President Volodymyr Zelensky this month to help bring him back to Ukraine. He had already tried to leave Russia in March via Belarus, but was stopped and sent back. His lawyer, Katerina Bobrovsky, said they have been fighting for 9 months. It was his dream to come back to Ukraine, and it came true.
I think the story of Bogdan will become an impulse for us to unite not only in Ukraine but in the whole world, to bring back all the Ukrainian children so that they are safe, happy and have veritable children's lives, so that they are protected.
And at least 3,000 trucks, mostly Ukrainian, have been stuck on the Polish side of the border on Sunday. Polish truckers early this month blocked roads to 3 border crossings with Ukraine to protest against what they see as government inaction over a loss of business to foreign competitors since Russia's conflict with Ukraine last year. As some of the trucks are even carrying fuel and humanitarian aid, the blockade is now in its 10th day. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. More than 500 Rohingya refugees from Myanmar landed on the shores of Indonesia's Aceh province on Sunday, making this the 4th wave of arrivals within a week. Hundreds of Muslim Rohingyas have arrived in Aceh's province in recent days, taking the total there to more than 1,000, which is taking a heavy toll on local facilities. Icelandic Prime Minister Katrín Jakobsdóttir says that her country stands in support of the Grindvíking's residents, a fishing town, as concerns grow about an imminent volcanic eruption in the area. Last weekend, seismic activity and underground lava flows intensified near Iceland's capital, prompted authorities to evacuate nearly 4,000 people from the town. A felt hat worn by Napoleon Bonaparte during his reign at the helm of the French Empire has fetched more than $2.1 million at an auction. The black beaver felt hat in traditional bicorn shape became symbol of Napoleon's historical character. It was worn in battle, that is, with the corns parallel to shoulders, and was also said to have more visible to his troops. Colorful hot air balloons as part of the 21st International Hot Air Balloon Festival filled clear blue skies in central Mexico on Sunday, where participants from over 20 different countries attended the festival. 200 hot air balloons filled with the sky, with some balloons taking the unique forms such as unicorns, dinosaurs, elephants, and popular characters such as SpongeBob. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Argentina elects Javier Milei as new president to reshape the political and economic roadmap of the country. As nations conclude week-long talks over plastic pollution, many say much less needs to be produced in the first place. And former First Lady of the United States, Rosalynn Carter, has died aged 96.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such changemakers.
Watch Changemakers on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Second India-Australia 2+2 Defence and Foreign Ministerial Dialogue in New Delhi today. Israel releases CCTV footage showing hostages at Gaza hospital. The 54th edition of the International Film Festival of India to begin in Goa. And Australia lifts 6th World Cup trophy, defeats India by 6 wickets. And moving on, Argentines celebrated the victory of Libertarian Javier Milei as their new president, winning with nearly 56% votes against his rival Sergio Massa, who scored 44% of the total votes. Milei has been handed over an economy battered by triple-digit inflation, looming recession and rising poverty. His election is going to reshape the political and economic roadmap of the country, could impact trade in grains, lithium and hydrocarbons, as he's opposed to communist nations while favouring strong ties with the US. Citizens expressed happiness over Milei's win, hoping him to bring a turnaround in country's economic situations. People were enthusiastic over the results, saying they voted Milei for a change.
This model of decadence has come to an end. There is no turning back. The results of this model are plain for all to see. From being the richest country in the world, today we are ranked 130. Half of Argentines are poor and the other 10% are destitute. Stop this impoverishing model of this caste. Today we embrace the libertarian model so as to return to being a global power.
Well, with the surprising win of Javier Milei in Argentina's general elections held on Sunday, reactions poured in from around the globe. Leaders from various nations took to social media to extend greetings to Milei on his victory. Presidents of Chile, Colombia, Brazil and Uruguay took to social media site X to congratulate Milei. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan congratulated Javier Milei on being elected president, adding that the US looks forward to building on a strong relationship based on human rights, democratic values and transparency. While former Brazilian President and former US President Donald Trump also extended greetings on Milei's success. And Democratic Republic of Congo President Felix Tshisekedi launched his re-election bid on Sunday. He was speaking to his supporters at the Kinshasa Martyr Stadium, urging them to give him another mandate to consolidate his achievements, which included free basic education. The presidential polls, scheduled for December 20th, will witness participation of more than 43 million eligible voters. Tshisekedi is another term following a turbulent 5 years in office. Interacting with his supporters, Tshisekedi told that he planned to introduce universal health care. Well, after government collapse over a cluster of crises, including immigration policy, Netherlands will hold parliamentary elections on 22nd of November. With its domestic economy dealing with issues ranging from the high cost of living and a shortage of housing to healthcare and migration, Mark Rutte made exit after serving as Prime Minister for 13 years. Voters will cast votes for the 150-seat House to elect the new Prime Minister, keeping in mind their concerns of economic well-being and climate change. Among the candidates running for the post, the front runners include Dilian Yesigolz and Peter Omsicki. And voters in Moldova gave majority to President Maia Sandu's in local elections held on Sunday, supporting a drive to join the European Union. In the runoff votes, voters gave President Maia Sandu's party a little more than a third of nearly 900 councils in the country lying between Ukraine and Romania, which is seen as a successful outcome. Earlier, Sandu had warned of Russian meddling in the elections, particularly accusing fugitive business magnate Ilan Shor of money funding to buy votes. Shor's allies were barred from running the first round, while he was sentenced in absentia to 15 years in prison for his part in a huge bank fraud. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe said that the decision to bar some candidates and limited voters' choice and resulted in uncontested races in some smaller localities. And international delegates gathered in Kenya for a week to mull over landmark treaty to fight global plastic pollution. As of now, over 500 proposals are at hand, over which discussion will take place for a year. After which, 2 more rounds of talks will take place next year to try to finalize the deal. Delegates in Nairobi were mulling 2 options, a wide-ranging strategy that would target plastics production or a limited approach focused on waste management. The United Nations in 2022 endorsed a historic resolution at the UN Environment Assembly to forge an international legally binding agreement to end plastic pollution by 2024.
This is a critical step in the negotiation to make sure that that zero draft, which came into this meeting, and in our view, as is often the time, it tends to be an underwhelming document, needed to be filled out with a broader range of views from governments. And that's what we saw this week, that we now have in the document a wide range of views that will carry forward into INC4. And at INC4, that's where we expect governments to start to narrow down and identify areas of consensus that will eventually go into the agreement.
And the plastic industry, oil and petrochemical exporters, including Russia and Saudi Arabia, have said a global deal should promote recycling and reuse of plastic. But environmental campaigners and some governments say much less needs to be produced in the first place.
The reality is that we've only recycled about 9% of the plastic that's ever been produced. We cannot recycle our way out of this problem. And so what Greenpeace is calling for is cutting plastic production and accelerating a reuse-based economy. We expect the negotiations to finance, create standards, and accelerate reuse at a global scale.
Moving on, Dominican Republic authorities reported 21 deaths after heavy rains of Sunday that have displaced thousands of residents. According to the Emergency Operations Center, over 13,000 people had been relocated to secure areas after torrential rains flooded homes, causing power outages and damaged bridges and parts of roads. Earlier on Saturday, 9 people died after rains caused the wall of a highway tunnel to collapse onto their cars. Rescue agencies saved over 2,500 people, citing damage to 2,600 homes due to the degrading weather. Many provinces were put on red alert following Sunday's downpours. Around 45 communities were left without communication. Well, a news just coming in. A massive fire broke out in fishing harbour in Vishakhapatnam of Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. The fire that started with the first boat eventually spread to 40 boats. The fire was brought under control. Cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained. No casualties or injuries were reported in the incident. A case has been filed and an investigation is underway. And moving on, as 41 workers are still trapped inside the partially collapsed Silkyara tunnel in Indian northern state of Uttarakhand, government has announced a plan of 5 options for their safe evacuation. The authorities have contacted 5 agencies to take action on these options: ONGC, Satluj Hydropower Corporation, Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, National Highways and Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited and Tehri Hydropower Development Corporation Limited have been entrusted with various responsibilities. The government is also in constant touch with the workers trapped in the tunnel and is making every possible effort to boost their morale. And for more on this, we have our correspondent O.P. Yadav from Uttarkashi with us. Well, O.P., अभी क्या हालात है वहाँ पर? क्या किसी मजदूर से बात हो पाई है? क्या अभी क्या चल रहा है फिलहाल?
जी, ये 12 तारीख को जब से ये घटना घटी है देवभूमि उत्तराखंड के उत्तरकाशी जिले के सिलक्यारा टनल में, तब से लगातार ऑपरेशन कार्य जारी है और मजदूरों को सकुशल वापसी हो और उनको किसी तरह कोई दिक्कत नहीं हो, इसके लेकर युद्ध स्तर पर कार्य भी जारी है। 13 तारीख को एक मशीन मंगवाई गई थी, उससे ड्रिलिंग की गई थी जो सिलक्यारा टनल है उस साइड से। उसके बाद कुछ मशीन में खराबी आई तो उसके बाद दूसरी मशीन दिल्ली से मंगवाई गई, अमेरिकन ओगर मशीन। उसके बाद इंदौर से मशीन आई और बाद में कई देशों के जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं उनको भी यहाँ बुला लिया गया। नॉर्वे, अमेरिका और थाईलैंड के विशेषज्ञ यहाँ काम कर रहे हैं। मजदूरों से भी लगातार सतत संवाद हो रहा। पहले वॉकी टॉकी से उनसे बातचीत हो रही थी, उसके बाद जो पाइप है उसके जरिए उनसे संवाद किया जा रहा है और मजदूरों के जो परिजन यहाँ आ रहे हैं उनसे भी उनकी बातचीत करवाई जा रही है। वो सभी से कुशल मंगल है और उनको खाने पीने के लिए ऐसी हल्की चीज़ें जो पाइप के जरिए कंप्रेसर करके हवा के प्रेशर से आगे भेजी जाती है वो उनको खिलाई जा रही है। और ऑक्सीजन का जो लेवल है वो भी मेंटेन रहे, इसके लिए चिकित्सकों की निगरानी में ऑक्सीजन का लेवल बनाए रखने के लिए ऑक्सीजन की आपूर्ति की जा रही है। तो किसी तरह की उनको कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। जो टनल के अंदर 2 किलोमीटर का एरिया, उसमें वो अच्छे से वॉक कर सकते हैं। लाइट की व्यवस्था है, सभी तरह की है, लेकिन इतने दिन से लगातार अंदर रहने से मानसिक स्थिति थोड़ी बिगड़ जाती है। इसको लेकर भी उनकी काउंसलिंग के प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं, और जो इनके अभिभावक है जो यहाँ आए हुए हैं, उनको भी मेंटल काउंसलिंग के लिए अलग से चिकित्सक यहाँ तैनात कर दिए गए हैं, तो उनको कोई परेशानी न हो, उनका मानसिक स्तर बना रहे, इसके लगातार प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं। कल केंद्रीय मंत्री नितिन गडकरी यहाँ आए थे, और जो मुख्यमंत्री पुष्कर सिंह धामी वो भी यहाँ आए थे, तो उन्होंने भी साफ तौर पर कहा कि हमारी पहली प्राथमिकता मजदूरों को बचाने की है, दूसरी प्राथमिकता उनको सकुशल बाहर निकालने के लिए जो प्रयास करने में, और साथ ही साथ उनके खाने पीने और ऑक्सीजन की आपूर्ति सुचारू हो, इसके लिए कई तरह के मल्टी एंगल पे काम करने की जरूरत है। और उन्हीं को लेके यहाँ पर एक 6 डायमेंशंस का अलग अलग एंगल से काम करने का एक प्लान तैयार किया गया, जिसमें ये टनल बरकोट साइड से, जहां से टनल शुरू होती है, वहां पर टिहरी जल विकास निगम को जिम्मेदारी दी गई कि वो एक्सेस टनल अलग से बनाए यहाँ पे। और दूसरा जो इसका एंडिंग पॉइंट है सिलक्यारा साइड से, वहाँ पे एक नवयुगा कंपनी है, उसको काम दिया गया है, वो भी हॉरिजॉन्टल ड्रिलिंग का काम कर रही है। इसके साथ ही साथ जो ONGC है, उसको इस पहाड़ी के दाएं और बाएं आड़े टेढ़े रास्ते बनाकर ड्रिलिंग करने का काम सौंपा गया है। और उस पहाड़ी के ऊपर अलग से सतलुज जल विकास निगम एक कंपनी है, जिसको जिम्मेदारी दी गई है। उसने 4 पॉइंट ऊपर पहाड़ी पर चिन्हित किए, जिनमें 2 पॉइंट पे वो ड्रिलिंग करेगी, वर्टिकल ड्रिलिंग, ताकि वहां से मजदूरों को खाना पहुंचाने के लिए अलग से व्यवस्था, और बाद में अगर ये व्यवस्था कारगर साबित हो गई तो इसी के जरिए उनको निकालने का काम भी होगा। इस पहाड़ी पर रास्ता बनाने के लिए बॉर्डर रोड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को जिम्मेदारी दी गई, और लगातार बीते 24 घंटे से इस काम पे युद्ध स्तर पर प्रयास जारी है, और उम्मीद की जाती है कि अगले 2 से 3 दिन में इस काम को सुचारू रूप से अंजाम तक पहुंचाया जा सकेगा। लगातार ये जो कार्य है उसमें प्रधानमंत्री कार्यालय की निगरानी है, केंद्र सरकार की निगरानी है, और राज्य सरकार की मॉनिटरिंग है, और समन्वित प्रयास के जरिए काम किया जा रहा है। इस मॉनिटरिंग को कोऑर्डिनेट करने के लिए जो HISDCL कंपनी है, उसके प्रबंध निदेशक है महमूद, उनको जिम्मेदारी दी गई है। सभी एक समन्वित प्रयास के तहत कार्य कर रहे हैं, ताकि इस काम को अंजाम तक पहुंचाने के साथ साथ मजदूरों को सकुशल बाहर निकाला जा सके।
जी बिल्कुल OP, इस जानकारी के लिए आपका धन्यवाद। So this was our correspondent OP from Uttarkashi, was telling us how the authorities are trying their best to provide food and oxygen to the people trapped there, and they're trying their best to take them out as soon as possible. And moving on, former First Lady of the United States, Rosalind Carter, has died at the age of 96. A close advisor to her husband, Jimmy Carter, during his term as U.S. President, Rosalind advocated for better treatment of the mentally ill. She died on Sunday at her home in the state of Georgia after living with dementia. Sally Peterson has more.
The Carter Center confirmed on Sunday that Rosalind Carter had died peacefully with her family by her side. She was married to Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, for 77 years. The former president called Rosalind his equal partner in everything he ever accomplished, offering wise guidance and encouragement. Rosalind made her mark on US politics, shaping the role of the modern First Lady. She sat in on cabinet meetings and represented her husband on foreign trips. She was the first First Lady to maintain an office in the East Wing of the White House. Now, she was also a devoted champion of mental health reform. And speaking in 2003, she said, 25 years ago, we did not dream that people might be able to recover from mental illness. And today, that's a very real possibility. Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. What's so special about the possible return of ousted CEO Altman? Possible return to OpenAI? We tell you ahead. Novak Djokovic punctuated another memorable year on Sunday by etching his name in the history books once again. And marathoners from across the world participated in Havana's annual Marabana race.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such change makers.
Watch Change Makers on DD India.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world, one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khuranan. Moving on to business news. Ousted OpenAI CEO Sam Altman joined executives at the company's San Francisco headquarters following reports he's set to return after being sacked on Friday. The ex-boss of leading artificial intelligence firm has posted a photo of himself at its headquarters. Altman and former President Greg Brockman joined executives on Sunday after interim CEO Meera Murthy invited him. After a host of talks with the company's board, Altman is discussing a possible return to the company while considering launch of a new artificial intelligence venture. And Australia's second-largest telco Optus Chief Executive Officer Kelly Bayer Rosmarin resigned on Monday, cutting short a more than 3-year tenure. Optus parent Singapore Telecommunications announced the resignation of Optus CEO Kelly Bayer Rosmarin days after a massive network outage left millions of Australians without a phone or internet service for 12 hours. Chief Financial Officer Michael Venter will take over as interim CEO, Singtel said in a statement. Well, oil futures nudged higher on Monday, extending gains on expectations of OPEC plus deepening supply cuts to shore up prices. Brent crude futures climbed 11 cents to $80.72 US a barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate crude was at $75.97 US a barrel. Oil prices have fallen for 4 weeks on easing concern of Mid-East supply disruption brought about by the Israel-Hamas conflict. Well, you're watching DD India News and time now for some sports news. Australia once again showed their ability to produce their best on the grandest of occasion when they toppled India to win the 50 overs World Cup title. Australia opener Travis Head smashed a magnificent century to fashion their 6-wicket victory against the tournament's form team, who posted a below-par 240 all-out and were reeled in with 7 overs to spare. Head hit a superb 137 off 120 balls to ease Australian nerves after a top-order wobble before they romped home in a contest that never reached great heights. Australia entered the match as clear underdogs against an all-conquering India side who had won 10 matches in a row to storm into the finals. Australia slumped to 47 for 3-7 overs into what would have been an easy chase before Head combined in an epic stand of 192 with Marnus Labuschagne to kill off the contest. Australia's triumph snapped the trend of a host country, winning the title that it held since 2011 edition and followed their recent victory in the World Test Championship and retaining the Ashes against England. Well, Indian batting star Virat Kohli extended his record run tally at a Cricket World Cup to 765 from 11 games. It is the most runs scored by a batter in a single World Cup, with Kohli battering yet another Sachin Tendulkar record. India's great Tendulkar had scored 673 runs in 11 matches at the 2003 World Cup in South Africa. King Kohli had already crossed that tally in the first semi-final against New Zealand in Mumbai, where India won by 70 runs. He also reached his 7th 72nd 50 of 56 balls, and with that notched up 5 consecutive 50-plus scores in World Cup for the second time. An Indian wicketkeeper batter KL Rahul went past the record of former batter Rahul Dravid's record for most dismissals as an Indian wicketkeeper in a single ODI World Cup edition. Rahul now holds the record for the most dismissal in a World Cup edition for Team India as a wicketkeeper. Rahul bagged his 17th dismissal of the ongoing 2023 World Cup. Rahul achieved this landmark by taking the catch of Mitchell Marsh in Jasprit Bumrah's over during the blockbuster final. And for more, Anil Thomas joins us live throughout the tournament. Well, Anil, it's been a dream run for Rohit Sharma's men in blue. They were invincible in the tournament with 10 wins in 10 matches. The road to the final has been nothing short of spectacular. What do you have to say?
Well, good morning, Lepakshi. You know, the law of averages is something that we all speak of, we hear of. I think the law of averages caught up with the Indian cricket team on a bad day, I would say, because, you know, considering the fact that Australians are no pushovers, especially when it comes to the knockout stages of tournaments. One needs to give full marks to the way Australians came about on that particular track. Remember, Australia lost to 2 teams in the group stages. The first was India, followed by South Africa. And those are the 2 teams that they have defeated in the semi-finals and finals to clinch the title. So it's a win, a 6th win for Australia, fair and square. Many did speak about Pat Cummins' decision, you know, especially making a total harakiri on the way when he won the toss and decided to field first. But you got to look at Indian subcontinent conditions and look at the 3 World Cups that we have hosted 4 World Cups, 4 finals that have been played in India, Pakistan, or for that matter in Sri Lanka. And of all the 4 finals, 3 finals have been won by the team chasing second under lights. So Australia did do a bit of research and they did dig deep into Indian batting. And that's where the success is, you know. They managed to win those crucial junctures, and I think India missed a trick or 2 by not using, maybe, you know, getting in Ashwin on that particular track would have made a lot of difference to the way Indian bowlers would have attacked the Australians.
Right, Anil, thank you so much for that. And moving on, a ruthless Novak Djokovic trounced home favourite Jannik Sinner in straight sets to win the ATP Finals title for a record 7th time. Earlier in the week, Djokovic had lost to Sinner in the group stage, but he avenged his defeat with a sublime display to claim a 6-3, 6-3 victory. The world number 1 dropped only 2 points on serve in a flawless opening set, and once he had broken Sinner's serve in the 4th game, it was largely one-way traffic. At one point, Djokovic won 14 points in a row against a player ranked 4th in the world before Sinner briefly slowed the march of the 24-time Grand Slam champion. His win concludes a year in which he won 3 of the 4 Grand Slam titles and seized back the world number 1 spot from Carlos Alcaraz. Moving on, in Havana's annual Marabana race, thousands of marathoners from 47 countries traversed iconic landmarks. The 37th edition featured 10, 21 or 42-kilometer races, attracting a diverse international participation. The event, dedicated to the centenary of Cuban revolutionary leader Jose Raymond Fernandez and honoring the bond between Cuba and Mexico, this year's Marabana celebrated unity and expressed gratitude for Mexico's unwavering solidarity. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lepakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.
A platform for the developing world, amplifying the voice of the Global South with a focus on the growing economies, resolving the conflicts, showcasing the culture, tradition, heritage and diversity. Watch Voice of the Global South at these times on DD India.
Welcome to Kumarakom, Kerala, God's own country.